Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles.
Come pick me up at my lover's place, or we're done. On my phone screen, Vivian's text message came with a precise location coordinate, stabbing at my eyes. I stared at that coordinate for 10 seconds, then replied, "We're done." Then I directly forwarded her location to an unknown number. "Your husband is here tonight, with my wife. By the way, congratulations on your upcoming baby. My name is Marcus, and I'm a city emergency systems planner. My job is simple. When disasters strike, ensure people don't die and infrastructure doesn't collapse. 12 years of crisis management training gave me an instinct. See the problem, find the key point, strike precisely." When Vivian's text popped up, I didn't smash things, didn't roar, didn't even question her. I just received information and analyzed data. That location point, I recognized it. 3 months ago, the city government had us evaluate the security systems of several high-end communities, including this Lakeview Gardens. At the time, I was cursing in my head. The security in these places was a waste of money. 24-hour guards, facial recognition access control, closed-circuit television coverage. With this spare money, they'd be better off reinforcing flood barriers. Turns out their security was indeed useless, at least for my wife. I opened my laptop and logged into the transportation department's database. As an emergency planner, I had the authority to access traffic data from specific areas for evacuation simulations. I entered the dates when Vivian had been working overtime and having girls' nights out over the past 3 months, pulling up her vehicle's travel routes. Every single time, it was the same destination. That location point. Fuck. I said it quietly, but had already switched to professional mode. Collect information, formulate a plan, execute. Who lived in that place? The property management system's password was as easy to guess as shit, especially when you know the supplier's default settings. 5 minutes later, I had the answer: Nathaniel Hayes. I almost laughed out loud. Nathaniel fucking Hayes, our company's marketing director. 6'2", always wearing 3-piece suits, driving imported cars, mentioning his Harvard days at every meeting. More ironically, this Mr. Hayes had just announced at last month's company annual meeting that he was going to be a father, specifically emphasizing that an heir to the Hayes family legacy is about to arrive. Opening social media, I immediately found his wife, Catherine Hayes. 8 months pregnant, Catherine looked radiant, frequently posting photos of her prenatal yoga classes and preparing the nursery. Her class schedule was very regular, every Tuesday and Thursday from 3 to 4:30 p.m. at a yoga center not far from Lakeview Gardens. Today was Thursday. Now, 3:15 p.m. Vivian had sent her message at 3:05. The puzzle was complete. Nathaniel had dropped Catherine off at class, then immediately called Vivian over. But clearly something had gone wrong, which was why Vivian sent that text. I continued searching Catherine's social media accounts. She valued family highly, frequently posting photos with parents, brothers, and sisters. Her brother was a lawyer, her sister worked at a hospital. A tight family network that would become a powerful weapon when the storm hit. In contrast, Nathaniel's account was filled with photos of business meetings, golf, and whiskey tastings. He rarely mentioned family, except for recently added photos with Catherine, always captioned, "Looking forward to our little prince's arrival." Looking at Vivian's account again. Over the past 3 months, the number of photos had surged, mostly carefully designed workplace outfits and high-end restaurants. The comment section always had Nathaniel's likes and ambiguous praise, and I barely appeared in her life displays. My phone vibrated again. Vivian texting, "Please, Marcus, where are you? I need you to come pick me up." I didn't reply. I started organizing evidence. Bank statements showed Vivian had been frequently spending at high-end restaurants and jewelry stores recently. The overtime days on her calendar highly coincided with the days Nathaniel returned from business trips. 3 weeks ago, that weekend when Vivian said she was going home to visit her parents. That same day, Nathaniel posted a beach sunset photo on social media, captioned "Beautiful weekend time," with no location tagged. Everything was as obvious as warning signs on a highway. I had just been playing blind. Now, I wouldn't play blind anymore. On my computer screen, Catherine Hayes prenatal yoga had 45 minutes left. I put on my coat, picked up my car keys, then put them down. Driving would be too slow. I checked the map. The yoga center was only 2 blocks from the nearest subway station. It was rush hour now, the subway would be faster. Before leaving, I confirmed what was on the route Catherine must take home from the yoga center. That street had coffee shops, flower shops, and a community information screen. That screen was a project our company installed 3 years ago, allowing residents to submit local news and announcements through a mobile app. I downloaded that app, registered an anonymous account, edited Vivian's location screenshot with a brief text, and set it to post at 4:25 p.m. when Catherine would pass by after class. The content was simple. See where your husband is tonight celebrating your upcoming child. My phone rang again, Vivian's number. This time it was a call. I didn't answer. I left, heading straight for the subway station. The phone rang again, still Vivian. I put it on silent and shoved it in my pocket. The subway was packed, but I didn't feel annoyed. My thoughts were unusually clear, just like when designing evacuation plans. Each step had a clear goal and expected outcome. For 05 p.m., I arrived at the station near the yoga center. Walking out, I chose a coffee shop where I could see the community information screen, ordered an Americano, then quietly waited. For 20, yoga class ended. Women in workout clothes gradually emerged from the center. I quickly recognized Catherine. Blonde hair and obvious pregnant belly matched the social media photos perfectly. She walked slowly, one hand supporting her waist, the other holding her phone checking messages. For 25, she passed the community information screen. My post appeared on the screen right on time. Catherine stopped, frowning at the screen. She seemed unsure of what she was seeing and moved closer. She took out her phone and photographed the screen. Her expression changed, hands fumbling to zoom in on the image to check the location. Then she made a call. No one answered. She called again, still no answer. Her expression shifted from confusion to worry, then to anger. She quickened her pace, heading directly toward Lakeview Gardens. I finished my coffee, paid the bill, and leisurely walked toward the subway station. No need to follow and watch the outcome. That would only increase risk. Besides, the result was already predictable. Back home, I made tea, opened my laptop, and handled my current work, an emergency evacuation route plan for a new industrial zone. Work was always the best distraction. 7:30 p.m. The doorbell rang. I opened the door. Vivian stood there. Her makeup was smeared, eyes red and swollen, clothes wrinkled, hair disheveled. "Why did you do this?" Her voice was hoarse. I stepped aside to let her in and closed the door. "Do what? You fucking know what you did. You sent my location to Catherine." She burst through the door screaming and smashing things like a madwoman. She almost went into premature labor. The ambulance took her to the hospital. After Nathaniel's parents arrived, they called me a slut, a home-wrecking bitch. They threw me out, and Nathaniel wouldn't even look at me. Sounds chaotic. I walked toward the kitchen. "Want some tea?" "Are you fucking kidding me?" Vivian screamed. "My life just got destroyed." "Your life." I stopped and turned to face her. "That's an interesting way to put it. Because before I received that text from you, I thought that was our life." Vivian opened her mouth to say something, then finally collapsed on the sofa and started sobbing. "I don't understand why you did this," she finally said. "You could have talked to me directly, could have asked for a divorce. Why humiliate me like this?" I walked back to the living room and sat in the chair across from her. "Humiliate? No, Vivian. I just exposed the truth to sunlight. You and Nathaniel chose deception, and deception always has a price. Just like I tell errors in the system, I didn't create the malfunction, I just discovered it. We truly love each other. True love doesn't need lies," I said calmly. "True love wouldn't have you tell me you're working overtime 3 times a week, then go to another man's bed. True love wouldn't have you use our joint account to buy him a $2,000 custom tie clip, which, by the way, has terrible taste." Vivian looked up in surprise. "You knew everything?" I know now. I nodded. As an emergency systems planner, my job is to find vulnerabilities in systems and fix them. Our marriage system had a vulnerability, and I just fixed it by deleting the faulty components. You cold-blooded bastard. She suddenly stood up. I'm going to let everyone know what kind of person you are. Go ahead. I shrugged. Also tell them the divorce lawyer meets on Monday, and I've organized all the evidence of your affair. Oh, I almost forgot. I took out a document folder from under the coffee table. This is the house ownership transfer document. According to our prenuptial agreement, if either party cheats, the property goes to the other party. Need me to remind you who insisted on adding this clause? She was stunned. It was indeed Vivian who had insisted on adding this clause back then, because she suspected I would change my heart after becoming successful in my career. Ironically, I had remained faithful throughout, while she became the victim of the clause. I have nowhere to go, she said in a low voice. Nathaniel won't answer my calls. My parents are in Europe, my friends. She stopped, probably realizing that most of her so-called friends were people she met through me. Book a hotel. I stood up and walked toward the bedroom. Use your own credit card. But first check if your limit is enough. After all, you've bought quite a bit of jewelry recently. Marcus, she shouted. You can't just do this. 7 years of marriage. I stopped without turning around. Precisely because of 7 years of marriage, I chose to only send the location, not those explicit texts and photos of you two. For old time's sake, I gave you a relatively dignified ending. Don't make me change my mind. The sound of the bedroom door closing was particularly crisp in the quiet house. I sat on the edge of the bed, for the first time allowing myself to truly feel all of this: anger, betrayal, loss. But strangely, the dominant emotion was relief. Like cutting away necrotic tissue, the pain is temporary, but health is permanent. Outside, Vivian was still sobbing, but the sound grew smaller and smaller. Finally, I heard the front door open and close, then complete silence. I walked to the window and watched Vivian stumble toward the roadside, hailing a taxi. After the car drove away, I drew the curtains, returned to my computer, and continued completing that industrial zone evacuation plan. When systems develop vulnerabilities, the most important thing isn't blame, but quick repair and moving forward. This was my profession and would become my life philosophy. The next day, I received a text from Nathaniel. You destroyed my family. I replied, you destroyed it yourself. By the way, that $2,000 tie clip, what's it worth now? Then I blocked him. Monday, I went to work as usual. Walking into the office, the atmosphere was obviously different. People were whispering, then suddenly quiet when they saw me. I walked straight to my office and started the day's work. At noon, I was analyzing a set of data when Nathaniel suddenly burst through the door. He looked terrible, unshaven, bloodshot eyes, wrinkled suit. You bastard, he growled in a low voice. You destroyed everything I had. I leaned back in my chair, hands crossed over my abdomen. Nathaniel, good to see you. I heard you've been having some family difficulties recently? Cut the crap. He stepped forward. Catherine wants to divorce me. Her parents forbid me from seeing the child. Everyone in the company is talking behind my back. Sounds tough. I nodded. Almost as tough as discovering your wife sleeping with a colleague. It's not the same. How is it different? I leaned forward, my voice still calm. Because you're Nathaniel Hayes, Harvard graduate, marketing director? Because you think you have the right to have everything: wife, child, mistress? Tell me, Nathaniel, when you were taking my wife to the beach for the weekend while Catherine was pregnant with your child, did you think about the consequences? His expression changed and he stepped back. How do you know about the beach? I know much more than you think. I stood up and walked in front of him. Like the hotel you booked with the company credit card, charged under client entertainment. Like the necklace you gave Vivian, bought with the budget meant for Catherine's anniversary gift. Like the time, place, and frequency of every meeting you two had. Nathaniel's face shifted from anger to fear. You've been spying on us? I laughed. No, Nathaniel, I don't need to spy. I just need to look at data, and data doesn't lie. You thought deleting text messages left no trace? You thought turning off location meant no one knew where you were? In the digital age, secrets are harder to keep than you think. What are you going to do? His voice grew smaller. Report me to the company? Me? Nothing. I sat back in my chair. You've already destroyed everything yourself. I just made the truth surface faster. Now, please leave my office. I have work to do. This won't end like this. He threatened, but his voice had lost its confidence. It's already over, Nathaniel. I opened my computer, no longer looking at him. By the way, I heard you're resigning? Good luck finding your next job. Maybe the Harvard Alumni Network can help? He stood there for a few seconds, then left silently. In the afternoon, Lisa from marketing knocked on my door. Hey, Marcus. She stood at the doorway, somewhat hesitant. Are you okay? Fine, thanks for asking. I smiled. Anything I can help you with? The whole company is talking about Nathaniel and your wife. She paused. Nathaniel just stormed into your office. HR is worried there might be conflict. It's fine, just normal conversation. I said calmly. Nathaniel just needed to vent. He looked like he was about to explode. But he won't, I said with certainty. He cares too much about his image. By the way, any new developments in your marketing department? Lisa seemed relieved and nodded. You're always like this, work first. Oh, HR notified all departments that there will be large-scale workplace behavior standards training next month, focusing on workplace relationship ethics. Seems like management takes this seriously. Of course they should, I said seriously. After all, every system needs clear rules and corresponding consequence mechanisms to function properly. Rules without consequences are like lions without teeth. They look scary but are actually harmless. Lisa looked at me with new eyes, as if she truly understood something for the first time, then nodded and left. Over the next few weeks, the office storm gradually subsided. Nathaniel eventually resigned, reportedly to focus on family. Catherine gave birth to a healthy boy at a private hospital, with only her parents and siblings present in the social media photos. No sign of Nathaniel. As for Vivian, she moved to another city, staying temporarily at her sister's place. The divorce proceedings went smoothly. She raised no objections, probably because of the evidence I never made public. 2 months later, on a Friday night, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Catherine Hayes. Marcus, could I talk to you? Her voice was very calm. I was somewhat surprised, but agreed. We arranged to meet at a neutral coffee shop. Catherine looked tired but strong. Blonde hair pulled back in a simple bun, no makeup, holding a sleeping baby. I wanted to thank you personally, she said straightforwardly. If it wasn't for you, I might have been kept in the dark forever, living with a betrayer's child. You don't need to thank me, I said. I just did what anyone in my position would do. No, most people would choose direct confrontation or quietly leave. You chose to let the truth be revealed in the most powerful way. She looked down at the baby. Nathaniel tried to come home, claiming it was just a momentary lapse. But my father is a judge. My brother is a lawyer. We all know the difference between pattern behavior and isolated incidents. I nodded without speaking. I'm taking Jackson back to Florida to live with family. She continued. I just wanted you to know that regardless of how others view your actions, I think you did the right thing. Sometimes, truth needs a harsh messenger. I'm glad to hear the name Jackson, I said, rather than Nathaniel Jr. Catherine smiled, a genuine smile. My father's name. A respectable name. We chatted briefly, then said goodbye. Watching her leave with the child, I felt a strange peace. The system had been reset, everyone returning to their proper tracks. Back home, I received an email notification. The city government had accepted our industrial zone emergency plan, and I would be responsible for the next phase of implementation. I poured a glass of whiskey and stood by the window, looking at the city lights. Some systems appear stable but are actually fragile. Some appear fragile but are actually resilient. The key is whether the designer has the courage to face the truth and make necessary adjustments. My phone buzzed with a dating app notification. I smiled and put the phone aside. No rush, system rebuilding takes time, and I have plenty of patience. 3 months passed, and life gradually returned to normal. The divorce proceedings were complete, the house was officially mine, and Vivian's belongings had all been packed and sent away. At the company, Nathaniel's position was filled by an experienced female marketing director whose first decision was to re-examine all client relationships, particularly those close partnerships that Nathaniel had single-handedly managed. Interestingly, I found that my position at the company had subtly improved. Not a promotion in title, but an intangible respect. Before, I was just the behind-the-scenes person responsible for technical details. Now people seem to value my opinions more, even in non-professional areas. At Friday's team lunch, the CEO unusually sat next to me. "Marcus." He pointed at his salad with his fork, tone casual. "I heard your Eastern Flood Control project received special commendation from the mayor?" "Yes, Mr. Richardson." I nodded. "Just did what needed to be done." "No, you did more." He put down his fork and looked directly at me. "You know why I appreciate you? You have a rare ability to see patterns others can't see, then take action. This quality is precious in any field." We both knew he wasn't just talking about work. "Thank you, sir. But sometimes, seeing certain patterns isn't a blessing. But choosing how to respond, that's the real test," he said meaningfully. "Some people see problems and run away, some get angry, and you solve problems. Clean and efficient." After lunch, Lisa from marketing caught up with me. "Hey, Marcus, there's a small gathering Saturday night, just a few friends, very casual. Want to come?" In the past, such invitations rarely came my way. Vivian was the social genius, and I was just her accessory, that quiet husband in the corner. Now, people were beginning to see me without Vivian's halo obscuring the view. "Sure. Thanks for the invitation," I replied. Lisa flashed a bright smile. "Great. I'll text you the address. 7 o'clock. Don't be late." "Oh, there will be a few single friends there, all very nice people." Back in the office, I received a special email. The city government invited me to next week's city planning committee meeting to discuss the possibility of extending my emergency system plan to the entire city. This was a major opportunity that could take my career to the next level. While replying to the email, my phone vibrated. It was Vivian. "Can we talk? I have some things to give you. First contact in 3 months." After considering, I replied, "Saturday noon, Blue Cafe on the west side." I chose a public place not out of fear, but caution. After experiencing such betrayal, I no longer trusted surface calm. Saturday noon, I arrived at the coffee shop on time. Vivian was already there, sitting in a corner. She looked different, hair cut short, simple and plain clothing, lacking that carefully designed glamorous look. "Hi, Marcus," she said softly. "Thanks for agreeing to see me." I nodded and sat down. When the waiter came, we both just ordered coffee. "You look good," she said. "Work going well?" "Not bad." I didn't provide more details. "You said you had something to give me?" "Yes." She took an envelope from her bag and pushed it toward me. "This is my mother's necklace, the one you gave me. I forgot to return it during the divorce. It should stay in your family." I looked at the envelope without immediately picking it up. That necklace was my grandmother's heirloom, given to her on our first wedding anniversary. "You can keep it," I said. "It's already yours." "No, it belongs to your family," she insisted. And the meaning it represented no longer exists. I picked up the envelope and put it in my pocket. "Thank you." After a brief silence, Vivian took a deep breath. "Marcus, I owe you an apology. Not for the outcome, but for the process. I could have told you directly that I fell in love with someone else, but I chose deception. That was cowardly." "Cowardly?" I chuckled. "No, Vivian, that was selfish. You wanted everything. Nathaniel's passion, my stability, social status, financial security. Until you had to choose, you discovered you had nothing. Like trying to open two doors at once, ending up with your fingers caught in between. Her eyes glistened with tears. You're right. I was selfish. But I did love you in my way. Your way wasn't love, I said calmly. That was possession, habit, social expectation. Real love requires courage and loyalty, and you lacked both. What about Nathaniel? Her voice suddenly became sharp. You destroyed his family. His child might never see his father again. Nathaniel made choices, and choices always have consequences. I sipped my coffee. He chose to betray his family, deceive his wife, sleep with another woman while she was pregnant with his child. The consequences weren't determined by me, but by his actions. I just accelerated the realization of natural law. But you could have only targeted me, she protested. You could have not involved Catherine. Just like you and Nathaniel didn't involve me in your game? I put down my coffee cup. Vivian, you forgot one thing. In chaos, victims have the right to choose how to seek justice. I chose truth, the whole truth. She lowered her head and was silent for a while. He came back, you know? She finally said. Who? Nathaniel. He contacted me. Said he and Catherine are officially divorced, wants to start over with me. I raised an eyebrow. Congratulations. I rejected him. She looked up at me. Not because of sudden moral awakening, but because I finally understood something. If a man is willing to betray his family for you, he'll equally betray you for the next woman. Smart realization, though a bit late. Like thinking to buy a fire extinguisher after the house is already burning. Yeah, she smiled bitterly. Now I'm living in my sister's guest room, working a receptionist job she got me. Nathaniel occasionally sends drunk texts saying how much he misses me, how much he regrets. And you're still that Marcus, calm and composed, life in perfect order. No, I shook my head. I'm no longer that Marcus. That Marcus believed in promises and loyalty, believed in people's surface appearances. The current me knows that systems need constant monitoring and correction, not blind trust. Vivian looked at me as if seeing me clearly for the first time. You know what they call you at the company? The precision striker. They say you don't lose your temper, don't shout, but you'll deliver a fatal blow at the most unexpected moment, in the most effective way. Interesting nickname. I stood up. Though I prefer systems engineer, simple and direct. Marcus, she called out to me. Do you hate me? I stopped and thought about this question. No, Vivian, I don't hate you. Hate requires sustained emotional investment, and you're no longer worth that kind of investment from me. Just like I wouldn't hate a virus or bacteria, I would just isolate it, then continue living. Leaving the coffee shop, I felt the weight in my chest finally completely dissipate. Tonight there was Lisa's party. Tomorrow I had to prepare materials for the committee meeting. Next week there was a preliminary assessment for a new project. Life continued, systems operated, and more efficiently than ever before. At 7 p.m., I arrived at Lisa's apartment following the address. The door opened. Lisa showed an enthusiastic smile. Marcus, you came. She gave me a brief hug. Come in. Let me introduce you to some friends. There were about a dozen people in the apartment, the atmosphere relaxed and pleasant. I quickly realized this wasn't an ordinary friends gathering. Most attendees were single professionals. Clearly Lisa was playing matchmaker. Marcus, this is Delilah, a landscape designer from the city planning department. Delilah, this is Marcus. He designed that flood control system that even the mayor praised. Delilah was a tall woman with dark hair, bright, intelligent eyes, and a firm handshake. That system with the integrated sensor network? Impressive. Thank you, I smiled. But speaking of impressive, I've heard about your Riverside Park project, perfectly combining flood control functions with public space. That's true innovation. We quickly fell into heated discussion about urban planning, from disaster prevention systems to multifunctional design of public spaces. Delilah was quick thinking, insightful, and didn't shy away from technical details. rare in social settings. Later, we continued talking on the balcony, the topic having shifted from work to personal interests. So, she sipped her wine. Lisa told me you recently got divorced? Yes, I nodded. Officially completed 3 months ago. Sorry to hear that, she said, but her tone didn't carry the usual pity, more like understanding. I went through one 2 years ago. Not infidelity, just two people gradually becoming strangers. Sometimes that's harder to handle, I admitted. At least betrayal gives you a clear ending point. Like amputation, painful but clean. That makes sense. She laughed. I like your directness. Most people would try to comfort me, saying things like, everything will be fine and other nonsense. Systems engineer habit. I shrugged. We focus more on actual state rather than desired state. Hoping the sun won't set doesn't make night disappear. I can understand that. She looked at the city's night view. In my work, I must consider worst-case scenarios. Floods, droughts, overuse. Hope for the best, but plan for the worst. Sounds like we think about problems in similar ways. Maybe. She turned to me, eyes sparkling with curiosity. So, Marcus, as a systems engineer, what's your current system status? Under reconstruction, I answered honestly. Core functions normal, but still adjusting new parameters and boundary conditions. Sounds like a cautious engineer. Caution is necessary, especially after experiencing system failure. What about you? Me? She thought for a moment. Using your terminology, system has been reset, running stable, open interfaces, but firewall settings are very high. We looked at each other and smiled. That kind of understanding that needed no explanation felt comfortable. When the party ended, we exchanged contact information. Walking toward the parking lot, Lisa caught up with me. How was it? She asked excitedly. Delilah's great, right? Yes, she's interesting. Thanks for the introduction. You're welcome. Lisa patted my shoulder. You know, after the whole Nathaniel incident, many people have gotten to know you anew. The way you handled that situation, many people admire your composure and decisiveness. Including you? Especially me, she said seriously. I was once deceived by a married asshole, but I just cried and left. Seeing you execute justice so precisely, honestly, it was fucking satisfying. Justice? I laughed. I was just protecting my dignity. Whatever you call it, she winked. Delilah really appreciates your directness. Don't let the opportunity slip away. On the way home, I received a text from Delilah. Had a great chat tonight. There's a lecture on urban resilience next Wednesday. If you're interested, we could go together. I replied, sure, sounds interesting. Then came a second message. Also, for clarity, this is a date invitation, not professional networking between colleagues. If you're not ready, I completely understand. I smiled and replied, I'm ready. This is date confirmation. Back home, I put the necklace Vivian returned in a drawer, then opened my computer to continue refining next week's committee meeting presentation. Work was progressing smoothly, my thinking clearer than ever before. Wednesday's date was very enjoyable. The lecture itself was standard, but the dinner and walk afterward gave us a chance to understand each other more deeply. Delilah was straightforward, intelligent, independent, and most importantly, honest. She had clear understanding and plans for her past, present, and future. 2 weeks later, we had dated 4 times, each more natural and comfortable than the last. Unlike my relationship with Vivian, Delilah and I didn't have that deliberate romance and performative intimacy, but rather a genuine connection based on shared interests and mutual respect. Friday night, we cooked together, then watched a documentary on the sofa. After the film ended, Delilah turned to me. Marcus, can I ask you a possibly presumptuous question? Of course. About your ex-wife, is the version circulating at the company true? Did you really send her and that man's location to his pregnant wife? I put down my wine glass and looked into her eyes. Yes, that's true. Any problem with that? She thought for a moment, then shook her head. No. Actually, I admire your precision. Most people would choose more chaotic, more emotional reactions. That's not my style. I know. She moved closer. That's why I'm attracted to you. You're not the type to post, "The best revenge is living well" nonsense on Instagram. You actually took action, clean and efficient. You sound like you appreciate revenge. I said half-jokingly. Not revenge, she corrected. Consequences. Actions have consequences, that's natural law. You just ensured the consequences fell on those who should bear them. Like a river changing course, not destruction, but returning to nature. At that moment, I realized Delilah truly understood me, not as a victim, not as an avenger, but as a systems engineer, someone who ensures cause and effect relationships function properly. Over the weekend, I received an unexpected text from Nathaniel. "I know you destroyed everything I had, but you'll never guess what I just got. Catherine agreed to let me see Jackson once a month. Supervised visits. This is just the beginning. I'll rebuild my family, and you and Vivian will be forever alone." I replied, "Congratulations on being able to see your child 4 hours a month. You should know. I can see the people I want to see every day. Enjoy your father-son time under the supervisor's watch." Then I saved a screenshot of the text. Not for future use, just as a reminder. Some people will never understand the true impact of their actions. Monday morning, I walked into the office to find the CEO waiting for me. "Marcus, good news. The board approved your citywide emergency system proposal." The mayor's office also expressed full support. He enthusiastically shook my hand. "You'll be leading the entire project. Double budget, team size tripled. Thank you for your trust, Mr. Richardson." "No, you earned this," he said seriously. "Your systems thinking and execution ability are exactly what this city needs, especially in uncertain times." Interesting way to put it. "Listen, Marcus," he lowered his voice. "We all know what you went through. Many people would be crushed by personal crisis, but you not only survived, you became stronger. That's the kind of talent we need. Someone who can stay clear-headed in chaos, find opportunities in crisis." Walking out of the CEO's office, I received a text from Delilah. "Heard someone's leading a big project? Celebration tonight?" News traveled fast. I replied, "Of course, you choose the place." After work, we met at an upscale restaurant. Delilah wore an elegant black dress, looking both professional and charming. "To your success," she raised her glass. "And to more success in the future." We clinked glasses. Then she smiled and said, "You know, in landscape design, we often discuss the concept of controlled destruction. Sometimes, to create a healthier ecosystem, you need to remove certain elements. Forest fires often lead to more lush vegetation growth." "Sounds familiar," I nodded. "In emergency systems, we call it controlled failure, allowing certain parts of the system to fail to protect core functions, like cutting power to protect the grid, or demolishing a building to save the entire block." "Exactly." Her eyes sparkled with understanding. "Life is the same, isn't it? Sometimes you need to let certain relationships, certain expectations fail to protect what's truly important, your dignity, your core values." "Precisely." I felt a deep resonance. You know what's most ironic? If Vivian had directly told me she fell in love with someone else and asked for divorce, I might have calmly accepted it, even helped her pack. But she chose deception, and that changed everything. "Because deception isn't just betraying feelings," Delilah said understandingly. "It's an insult to your judgment, a contempt for your intelligence." "Exactly. Like someone shitting at your doorstep, then pointing at it saying it's chocolate cake." Delilah burst out laughing. "Your metaphors are vivid." After dinner, I drove Delilah home. At her apartment door, we naturally kissed without deliberate arrangement, just a natural progression of intimacy. "Want to come in for coffee?" she asked, her eyes carrying a clear invitation. I'd be delighted. 6 months later, we moved in together. Not for economic reasons or social expectations, but because it felt like the right next step. Our relationship was built on complete transparency and mutual respect. No secrets, no hiding, just honest communication and clear boundaries. Meanwhile, the citywide emergency system project was progressing smoothly. My team expanded to include experts from different departments, with Delilah serving as a landscape resilience consultant. Our work received national award nominations, and several neighboring cities expressed interest in adopting similar systems. A year passed, life was stable and fulfilling. Occasionally, I would hear news about Vivian or Nathaniel. Vivian was starting over in another city, reportedly dating a doctor. Nathaniel finally got weekly visitation rights, but his career had stagnated with bleak prospects. This news no longer stirred any emotions in me, as calm as hearing a weather forecast. One Saturday morning, Delilah and I were having coffee on the balcony, discussing weekend plans. By the way, she suddenly remembered something. Catherine Hayes contacted me yesterday about baby stroller path design for the Riverside Park. She mentioned you, said you're the most honest person she knows. Really? I was somewhat surprised. We only met once. Apparently that conversation left a deep impression on her. Delilah smiled. She said you taught her an important lesson. Truth may be cruel, but it's always the ultimate liberation. What else did she say? She said Nathaniel has been trying to re-enter the investment circle recently, but his reputation is ruined. Every interview, the other party somehow mentions integrity and family values. Delilah paused. She's certain you had a hand in it behind the scenes. I just sipped my coffee, neither confirming nor denying. Don't worry, Delilah squeezed my hand. She was smiling when she said this. I looked at the city skyline, thinking about those words. Yes, truth is like the systems I design. Sometimes they seem cold and ruthless, but ultimately, they save far more lives than they cause inconvenience. You know, I turned to Delilah. I've never regretted that day's decision. Not because of the pleasure of revenge, but because it was the only honest choice. Just like you wouldn't regret turning off a leaking faucet. That's why I love you. She held my hand. You always choose honesty, regardless of the cost. You make me believe that in this world full of lies, there are still people who stick to truth. I looked into her eyes, suddenly realizing that after all the system collapses and rebuilding, I had found a truly solid foundation. Not based on fantasy or social expectations, but on a real connection built on mutual understanding and respect. I love you too, I said, because you never asked me to be someone else. Sunlight fell on us, the city stretched out below. In this carefully designed system, every component was in place, running smoothly. Occasional disturbances only made the whole more resilient, more complete. This was the perfect revenge. Not destruction, but rebuilding. Not pain, but growth. Not loneliness, but finding where you truly belong. And it all began with that simple decision. When faced with deception, choose truth no matter how cruel. Come pick me up at my lover's place or we're done. My wife had once threatened in a text. I simply replied, we're done. Then pressed send, not to her, but to where truth should arrive. System reset, life continues. Sometimes, the best systems engineering is knowing which connections should be maintained and which should be severed. And I had finally mastered this art. Just like I told Nathaniel, every action has consequences. You're no exception. It's just that your consequences are executed by me.
That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.